Um, Good morning. I think we're ready to start with the proceedings of today. I hope everybody had a wonderful breakfast, networking, conversations, productive conversations. My name is Khalile Khodi. I will be your program director for today, and I hope that we have a very productive day all in all. I would like you to really just relax, settle down. We are going to really have impactful conversations today. So I'd like to welcome you all, ladies and gents, to this celebration of International Women's Day 2024 under the theme of Invest in Women to Accelerate Progress. Good morning to our esteemed guests. Good morning to everyone. I hope that you are feeling great this morning. So to start off today, as we all know, we work in the mining industry, or we've had some contact with the mining industry. We know that safety is of critical and paramount importance. So I will hand over to Yapi to just give us a safety briefing so that we're able to navigate and settle down and ensure that we are calm and in the right frame of mind to contribute to today's proceedings. Thank you. Over to you, Yapi.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm also the security manager for the hotel who will look after you today. So on the health and safety side, I hope you brought your headache tablets because we're not allowed to give any headache tablets. All right, we are linked to the police station. We're also linked to the hospital as Netcare, so if there's any incidents today. The fire marshals, first aiders will meet you outside if we need to evacuate. Before we can evacuate, the siren will go off. A female voice will say there is an emergency detected in the building. Please exit through the nearest fire escape. In that case, you will go through these two doors, through the glass door to the smoking area. There's a little fire escape gate, and just past the fire escape gate is the assemble point. If we cannot use the assemble point on this side of the building, you'll be escorted to the north side where the open parking area is. That is the other assembly point. If you have to evacuate, please take all your personal belongings with you. Ladies, if you have high heels, please remove the high heels. You can take it with you, but it's only to prevent injuries on the way to the assemble point. If you have an attendance register, please bring it with so we can make sure everybody is safe arriving at the assemble point. Toilet facilities, you all know by now where it is. Don't need to explain, except for the one there in the middle by North Tower. It's unisex, so it's male and female using one, not the same facility, but the same cubicle. Right, yeah, we will assist you outside, so in case, there's also no load shedding today, and there's no evacuation plan for today. Any questions from your side? All right, is there anyone using Uber? Okay, it's just because we do have cell phone snatchers in the facility, so as soon as you display your phone on the outside of the premises, then they like to grab and run away with it. And then those who have parking tickets, Peter asked me to please give the tickets to him to stamp and verify it, otherwise you have to pay at the end of the day. So please, if you see Peter, give him the parking ticket so he can stamp it for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yapi. I believe that we all understand and we're all well inducted into the surroundings, and we take a couple of notes from Yapi. I would also like to welcome our guests from Vedenta who are joining us online. I believe there are 25 delegates that are online, and our online guests in general. I know that Dumi will be observing the chat for any online interaction. We have to move with the time, so we're having a hybrid event. So we will like to welcome everybody that's online, everybody that's in the room. We hope that the interactions will be really impactful. And with that, I think that it would be the best time for us to observe a moment of silence for all our fallen heroes in the mining industry this year to date, as well as in the past. We really do stand on the shoulders of giants so that we can see further and do things better. So please join me in this moment of silence, even everybody that's online, to commemorate our fallen heroes. Okay, thank you very much. I believe that it's always important to have a moment of reflection to understand that there are people who paved the way for us to be here, and there are people who have really done amazing things and even lost their lives in the mining industry. So that's why we have to always be cognizant of safety. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage or call upon to the stage Nolita Fakute, who is the president of the Minerals Council. Dr. Nolita, are you here? Menolita? Yes, Nolita Fakute is the president of the Minerals Council, MNCOSA, and she's also the non-executive director of the JSE Limited and vice president of the International Women's Forum, South Africa. She is as well the patron of the Guild of Cottage for Home of Girls. Thank you, and help me welcome Nolita Fakute.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Ms. Lekhodi. I know I was walking fast towards you and disorientating you in terms of your prepared introductions. I always believe that at home you should not be introduced. Rather, let's introduce the guests than the people who are part of the family. And from the Minerals Council perspective, I consider myself to be at home. But thank you very much for taking us through that process. Honored guests and colleagues, especially those who are here with us this morning, and I also want to acknowledge the ones who are calling us online, as mentioned, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and you are welcome for this session. Thank you to the Minerals Council team led by Dr. Tutula Balfo and Mr. Tebelo Chabane for continuing to drive our commitment to do right by women in the mining sector. Ms. Tuminkomo, where is Ms. Tumi? She's just gone out. Ms. Tuminkomo, thank you for your passion and dedication to support our Women in Mining Leadership Forum over the past few years. I'm always grateful for everyone's support at the Minerals Council. The theme for this year is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, is aimed at tackling economic disempowerment of women, which is why for our session today, we have decided to focus on putting the spotlight on procurement opportunities in the mining sector and reflect on how women are participating in these opportunities. We are grateful that Dr. Futhi Mtoba, co-chair of the Women's Economic Assembly, or WECONA, as well as she is a non-executive director of South 32, amongst other roles that she plays, is here with us this morning to enlighten us on the work that they are doing within WECONA and that work they are doing with various other sectors in the economy. Thank you very much for joining us, Futhi. We look forward to your contributions this morning. Further, I'm delighted to be joined by our Mineral Council South Africa board members, Mr. Yapi Fulat, or as I normally tease him and say, he is Bra Yapi to me, because I call everyone Bra and Puti, so it's Bra Yapi, who is CEO of Glencore South Africa, and Mr. Mark Monroe of Impala Platinum, who are strong allies and leaders that champion the empowerment of women within the mining industry. Thanks a lot, colleagues, for coming in this morning. I appreciate it. Mr. Yapi Fulat is also the chair of the Minerals Council CEO Zero Harm Forum and a thought leader in safety. He will bring us the safety message during this contribution beyond what was just initially shared by the other colleague when we opened. Ms. Simkita Gova, CEO of WIMBIZ, as the facilitator of our panel discussion, is much welcomed as she represents an important voice of women in the mining sector. Thanks, Ms. Gova, for being with us. The United Nations International Women's Day has been celebrated since March 1911, a full 113 years ago. The genesis of this day has its roots on women taking to the streets mainly to demand better working conditions, including better pay as well as voting rights. Over 100 years ago, women the world over are still fighting for equal pay, equitable access to career and business opportunities, and freedom from physical, psychological, and sexual assault in communities, in transit to and from work, and unfortunately as well as at work. Much progress, however, has been made in the last 2 decades on many areas of women empowerment and investing in women than ever before. However, still so much more has to be done to change what was systemically, socially, and legally acceptable for decades, both in society and at work. And also at this point, I want to pause and remind all of us that with the coming election day on the 29th of May, it is important that we all exercise our right to vote. Let us not take it for granted, because many, many women and men have been fighting for that right over decades and centuries. And still there are in some countries where the right to vote is not as easily accessible as we have it. So it's important that we continue to use our voice for next generations in terms of our civil duties. Globally, advocacy groups, governments, and the private sector have worked tirelessly to redress the injustices of the past, and much progress has been made to create safe, equitable, and inclusive workplaces. The mining sector has also in the last few years pulled its own weight on this topic. We are not ignorant to the many challenges that exist in the global mining sector, including in South Africa. However, examples of the sector's willingness to introspect and course correct can be found in the Rio Tinto's Everyday Respect report, as an example, which was published in 2022, as well as the recent Goldfields Respectful Workplace published in 2023, amongst other efforts. The mining industry in South Africa has come a long way from when the first woman, Ms. Dale Pearson, obtained a mining engineering degree in 1994. That was 30 years ago. And the first Black woman, Ms. Celiwe Muswane, obtained hers a decade later in 2005. However, today we can boast of leading women in mining in our industry. We have our own Dr. Nombasa Tsengwa, who is the CEO of Exxaro, Ms. Mpumi Zikalala, who is the CEO of Kumba Iron Ore, and also recently we had in South Africa our own Ms. Natasha Viljoen, who is now globally a COO of gold miner Newmont Mining, as well as our own Mana Klute, who is president of Canada at Ivanhoe. These women are an inspiration for all women in mining globally. They run large, complex companies of great significance to our economy and the global economy. The South African legislative framework underpinning workplace policies and transformation efforts has certainly bolstered the number of women participating in mining, especially in core mining roles. the contribution of legislatures, advocacy groups, including labor, and the willingness of the private sector to meaningfully further partner with these stakeholders certainly can be applauded for the gains made thus far. A notable mention is the Minerals and Petroleum Resources and Development Act, which is commonly known as the MPRDA, which was passed in 2002 to make provision for equitable access to and sustainable development of the nation's mineral and petroleum resources, and by making sure that the transformation role and participation of women takes place through that process, including through the Mining Charter. Women got an opportunity to be included due to these pieces of legislation. Through continuous efforts of various industry role players, we have also seen an increase in the numbers of women participating in mining from an estimated 3% in 2002 to 15% of the total mining workforce in 2023. Though we have made inroads in realizing a diverse and equitable mining sector, we are still far from the targets we have set before us. The International Labour Organization defines a gender-balanced workplace as having a 40% to 60% representation of women and men as a baseline for a sustainable organization. In the mining sector, this translates to 3 to 4 women in a crew of 8 to 12 people. When we look at the current statistics, this is a sobering reality. And I want to say, even though that's the case, we do know that 3 years ago, we only had 50,000 women in the mining sector. And today, we are having 72,000 women represented within the workforce in a space of 3 years. This year's International Women's Day theme, Invest in Women, is a call for definitive action that cuts across organizations and the whole mining value chain. Not only do we have to collectively make the necessary changes at organizational levels by integrating gender into core business strategies and operational practices, but we're also obliged to do so with our societies to root out social ills such as the pandemic, that is the GBVF, gender-based violence and femicide, but also create sustainable societies within which we can all operate and thrive. The mining industry is playing a crucial role in the fight against GBVF, and through the partnership with the NPA and the GBVF Response Fund, the mining companies have come together to pledge financial support to build, refurbish, and support the Thuthuzela care centers that offer much needed aftercare services to survivors of GBV. This is an example of how we can come together to make a difference where and when it matters. Through this initiative, mining companies have realized that it is not enough to be narrowly focused in finding solutions to create safe working spaces for current and future employees, but are also rolling up their sleeves to be the change that we want to see in the communities within which we operate and across our nations. And I want to reflect also and thank our CEOs who have within their companies championed the whole program of the Thuthuzela centers, including my colleague Yapi Fulad, who is here, who was one of the first to put up his hand and put up a fully comprehensive Thuthuzela center within his own company. Further to this, women's economic empowerment is a critical lever not only to drive and progress transformation, but also to ensure women's economic independence in the face of gender-based violence. as is also stipulated in the National Strategic Plan on GBVF. To this end, and also as prompted by our partnership with the Women's Economic Assembly that Dr. Futhi Mtoba will talk to, as the Minerals Council in 2023, we commissioned a baseline study into the support of women-owned businesses by our member companies, and Dr. Tutula Balfour will talk to that more later on. This early study has afforded us key insights into the immense support provided to women entrepreneurs through the supply chain and enterprise development programs. We also have to acknowledge that there is more work to be done in this regard as an industry in order to be at the forefront to bringing women into the mainstream economy. We can't do this alone and recognize the potential positive impact that can be achieved through the increased collaborations of all stakeholders. Today, we as well will celebrate 10 amazing, awesome, brilliant women who are our heroes in safety. Can I please see the hands of those women? Let's. Thank you and welcome. There'll be more on that program later, so I don't want to steal somebody's thunder, but it is actually very exciting that every year, for the last 4 years at least, when we celebrate International Women's Day, we also acknowledge women who are heroes in specific areas of their professions within the mining industry. And for today, I think it's very poignant that we're actually celebrating women who are leading in safety. Lastly, in tracking our progress on our transformation journey, we have redefined the matrix we measure on our gender diversity and inclusion dashboard. Using the data we've collected over the past 3 years since the launch of our dashboard, we have been able to identify areas that need more attention to further inform our policies and drive a complete culture change across the sector to realize the inclusive, diverse, and equitable workforce that will underpin a successful and sustainable mining industry. As an industry, we believe in collaboration and learning from each other to replicate best practices. And so while we can look back at past successes on our transformation journey, we are also ready to roll up our sleeves again and to learn from one another and collectively do the work required to invest in women and accelerate progress. This can't wait for another 100 years. I know we are all committed to this and have shown that it can be done during our lifetime. So I thank you all for coming and wish you fruitful deliberations for today. Happy International Women's Day, and let's have a good, safe, and productive day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think that we have all felt the impact of the work that is done by the Minerals Council and how they bring us all together and tie us all together towards one specific goal and to create impact in our communities, our businesses, our mines where we operate, and overall socio-economic impact in South Africa. So thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for the welcome. Our next esteemed speaker and guest is Dr. Futhi Mtoba, who is the co-chair Women's Economic Assembly. Dr. Mtoba's life story is a testament of excellence, empowerment, and tireless dedication to making a difference in the world. Her journey throughout the realms of business, community engagement, and corporate leadership in South Africa and globally has been nothing short of remarkable. Futhi's professional odyssey commenced in the halls of W.I. Ngutlu and Co. in association with Heck and Wilhelm in Mbatha. However, it was a pivotal move to Deloitte and Touch in 1988 that set the stage for illustrious career. Notably, she etched the name in history by becoming the first Black woman to rise to the esteemed rank of partner at one of South Africa's Big Five accounting firms. This achievement signaled the beginning of a trailblazing career marked by numerous milestones. Throughout her tenure at Deloitte, Futhi Mbatha continuously pushed boundaries and expanded horizons. Her legacy includes serving as a board member of Deloitte, a role assumed as the first African Black woman to hold such a position. Her leadership acumen soon propelled her to the roles of deputy chairman and ultimately chairman of Deloitte in 2005. Under her stewardship, Deloitte flourished and continued to thrive as a global powerhouse in the world of accounting and consultancy. Her tenure culminated in a well-deserved retirement in December 31, 2014, leaving behind a legacy of excellence that continues to inspire. Futhi Mbatha's impact transcends the boardroom and spreads across vital societal causes. Her unwavering commitment to the empowerment of women, education, skills development, youth initiatives, and the fight against corruption is a cornerstone of her life's work. Her influence extends globally through active participation in a myriad of international platforms. Thank you so much. Welcome, Dr. Futhi. We look forward to your keynote address.
Program Director, thank you for that introduction. I was slightly concerned when you started. I thought you were going to say, Futhi needs no introduction. Now, this reminds me of the late Kofi Annan, who had the story that I had the pleasure of serving under him in the UN Global Compact, the first board that was constituted. He, after having a very tiring time in, at the UN solving the world's problem, maybe let me say trying to, he then decided with his wife to take a holiday, and they went somewhere where they felt no one knows them. And then, so one day, this day they decided, we're not staying in the house anymore, let's just go out there in order to meet, for some fresh air and relax. And as they walked out of the house, a crowd came and a gentleman turned and said, "That's him." They ran to him, and then, of course, he turned to his wife and he said, "You see, I told you we shouldn't be going out." And then this gentleman walked to him and said, "What a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Morgan Freeman. Thank you." Closing the overall gender gap will require 131 years. At the current rate of progress, it will take 169 years for economic parity and 162 years for political parity. This is according to the World Economics Forum Global Gap Report of 2023. We can't wait. We cannot afford to even wait for that. Good morning to everyone.
For the questions.
The President of the Minerals Council and the Chair of the Women in Mining Leadership Forum, Ms. Nolita Fagude, and distinguished guest, thank you for inviting me in my capacity as Ukona to participate in this esteemed event. And also, I thank you for putting the spotlight on procurement on women in the mining sector and their agenda. The clarion call by the UN on this International Day, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, comes against the backdrop of great strides and concerted efforts by international bodies through convention, treaties, and under international human rights instruments seeking to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. In spite of these instruments, commitments, and actions by the international community, states, and non-state actors, the vision of equality still remains a piper's dream. Gender disparity still persists in all spheres of life, including the economy. As we commemorate this day, we have to be mindful of the mammoth task that lies ahead of us as business leaders to set the tone using all the resources at our disposal to eradicate discrimination in all forms and to seek equality for all. Those of us charged with governance and leadership have a responsibility to act, and to act now. We are aware that gaps exist and that there are challenges in the implementation of the provisions of the international instruments, the national legislation, and the local policies. These instruments cannot self-execute. All stakeholders have a role in ensuring adherence to the vision of equality through deliberate, individual, targeted, and concerted efforts. Another challenge that has slowed down the progress of women's advancement and development is that whenever there is an economic downturn and a struggle over diminishing resources, just like we are experiencing now, the current climate that is existing, women bear the brunt. Going forward, strategies to address women economic advancement must factor these challenges to accelerate progress. In my address, I will answer the question that is consistently asked: why should we invest in women? I'll also share about the Women Economic Assembly, WECONA, a collaboration between the private sector, government, civil society, and what it seeks to achieve. Investing in women and girls is imperative because it yields multiple benefits, not only for individual women, but for families, communities, and countries. Human capital stands as a nation's invaluable resource, especially in contributions of women to the economy, whether through paid, unpaid labor, or in nurturing smaller families and fostering educational, empowered children to play a transformative role in shaping the economic outcomes. Investing in women is not merely a moral imperative, it is a strategic economic decision with far-reaching benefits for society as a whole. In contexts where women have had access to opportunities, they have proven themselves as drivers of sustainable development and powerful agents of changes. We will be celebrating such excellence today. The right investments release women's untapped potential, improve literacy rates, and reduce hunger and poverty. We need a more equitable society. Let me paint a picture of the economic status of women. Globally, decision makers have failed to consistently make women a priority. In South Africa, women currently makes up 51.1% of the population, and about 42% of households are headed by females. Yet, almost 50% of women aged between 15 and 64 are economically inactive. This is according to the International Labour Organization report of 2022. This drives home the fact that half of the working age women are not part of the labor force compared to their male counterparts. Black women specifically are employed in low-skilled and low-paid jobs. Poverty levels amongst Black women remain high. The productive potential of South African women in the labor market remains unused. If you look at the markets, only 7 of the top 100 Johannesburg Stock Exchange listed companies are led by female CEOs, indicating that there's minimal progress in gender representation at senior management and executive position. This is according to the 2022 PwC South Africa Executive Directors Report. In addition, the gender pay gap is highly significant for large caps and small cap companies. The race pay gap is significantly pronounced as well. The state of women-owned businesses in South Africa and in our continent reflects both progress and persistent challenges. Whilst there's been a notable increase in the number of women entrepreneurs across the continent, women-owned businesses still face significant hurdles that impede their growth and success, namely, but not limited to, access to finance, which is difficulty in accessing capital, credit, financial services, and lack of financial literacy, the regulatory barriers, having complex registration procedures, endless red tape, and gender-based law, discrimination, the patriarchal norms and values that foster gender-based discrimination, tech barriers, limitations, limited access and lack of digital skills and internet connectivity, which is currently threatening participation of women in the new economy. Women in the mining face the same constraint as other women in businesses, but their industry has historically been male dominated. This compounds their challenges, but I'm happy to note that the speakers will share insights as to how to address the critical issues of women safety. The equity and inclusion of women-owned businesses in public procurement in South Africa's report denoted that South Africa is only between 1 to 6% of state contracts currently awarded to women, although women comprise more than 51%. This is shocking disparity that needs to be addressed with haste. An award of only 1% contracts to women entrepreneurs is a travesty of gender justice. It is a tokenism without any serious intention to accord fairness to women. In addition, South Africa has one of the highest GBV rates in the world, according to a report by State South Africa. Our femicide rates, which is made of the women by their spouses, is 5 times higher than that of the global average. So this picture reinforces that more forthright and urgent action is needed to support women. So what are the solutions? So addressing these challenges requires internal efforts from government, policymakers, civil society, private sector organizations to create an enabling environment for women to thrive. This includes implementing gender-responsive policies, providing targeted financial and technical assistance, promoting gender equality and women empowerment, and fostering an inclusive entrepreneurship ecosystem that supports the growth and success of women-owned businesses. The UN Women, in its 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, outlines how it plans to leverage its unique triple mandate to mobilize urgent and sustainable action to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. We have success stories. Supporting women requires a multifaceted approach that addresses various challenges and promotes opportunities for growth and success, such as the provisioning of targeted financial support and incentives to women entrepreneurs, offering business development programs, workshops, and mentoring opportunities tailored to the needs of women entrepreneurs, and facilitating networking opportunities and mentoring programs that connect women entrepreneurs with experienced mentors, business leaders, and peers. Recognizing the execution challenge, the International Women's Forum of South Africa's chapter in 2020 committed to President Ramaphosa to work with government by bringing expertise and experience to drive execution. The International Women's Forum, which is a global organization of preeminent women of significance and of diverse achievement, who come together across nation, international boundaries to share knowledge and exchange ideas and inspire each other to promote better leadership for a changing world. The organization, the international organization, has 8,000 members across 33 countries. Our core objective is to nurture and develop a pipeline of the next generation of leaders through targeted leadership development program, SME mentoring and coaching. The IWF South Africa plays its role at its organizational level and in its collaboration with initiatives such as the Women Economic Assembly, WECONA. WECONA, the Women's Economic Assembly, we call it WECONA in short, is a mandate emerging from the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence, which commits to empower women through preferential procurement, following President Ramaphosa's in 2021 setting an ambitious goal for the public sector of 40% of public procurement that should be directed to women-owned businesses. WECONA has been set up as the platform for deliberate action with two critical values: action, accountability, and progress. It seeks to drive women economic empowerment through negotiating sector-specific procurement targets, reviewing representation in management structures across the public and the private sector. The National Strategic Plan on Addressing Gender-Based Violence identified that as one of its pillars, the economic power, which takes on a perspective that economic vulnerability of any kind leads to further vulnerabilities. To transform our economy, we need to ensure that progressively women have greater ownership of economic power, which not only takes consideration the much needed employment, but also the number of women owning productive assets, businesses, and have access to economic opportunities. In South Africa, we have identified, has identified 17 sectors through the Department of Trade and Industry that are priority sectors. So this department has done exceptional work and continues to do in transforming our economy from a localization perspective by having more Black people participating. As WICONA, we applauded this Black participation. However, the participation of women is minimal. And in addition, there is lack of disaggregated data on women participation. So we have designed a gender participation framework that highlights areas of ownership of businesses in those value chains, employment and pay parity, and representation at executive levels and at boards. We partner with the private sector, like yourselves, and assist through securing commitments from sectors and companies. In this way, we aim to accelerate that participation of women. We have also, in terms of the success, identified flagship projects for other sectors. For an example, in the automobile sector, in 2021, when we started, there wasn't a single woman who owned a car dealership. But through talking to the sector, that has made it possible, and now we have 4 women owning a dealership. And secondly, there wasn't even a training that was dedicated. Anyone who wants to enter the automobile sector, as we speak, a number of women are at TUT learning how to be the dealership of the future. As in any democratic country, we want to create an environment where the individual can reach their full potential, champion over their circumstances, be able to pursue their careers or enterprises of their choosing, and have resources at their disposal in order to contribute positively to the economy. From the individual, we require relentless pursuit of their ambition and the ability to take advantage of all opportunities around them, whether they come as problems to be solved or dreams to be conquered. Companies are signatories to the UN Global Compact and the UN Principles on Women Empowerment, particularly Principle 5, which provides that companies should implement enterprise development, supply chain, market practices that promotes women. WICONA supports the companies to meet their commitments. In conclusion, having existed for 3 years, WICONA has reached a critical milestone where institutionalization becomes a critical indicator of its sustainability. And in this instance, institutionalization is measured through the following critical elements: gender transformative actions implemented by key industries and integrated in their annual plans of the private and the public sector. A gender transformative monitoring system is adopted by public sector as well as industry to ensure that agreed targets are met. The WICONA has launched its index for inclusive supply chain. We're looking to do this year as WICONA. And we're hoping that the mining sector will be one of the 3 companies, in addition to the 2 that have committed, that they will be the first sector to be in that statistic. WICONA is rolled out at provincial level with clear provisional action plans to promote gender transformative supply chain. WICONA is formally registered, similar to the GBV Fund 1, as a partnership between private sector with a fully functional secretariat and independent funding. Working together, we can accelerate progress towards gender equality and build a future where every woman, girl, man, and boy has the opportunity to realize their dreams and aspirations. I wish you a happy International Women's Day.
Wow, 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 wow. I think Dr. Futhi deserves another round of applause. You know, when she talked about investing in women to accelerate progress and how she described some of the acceleration programs that she has participated and instigated, and to think that Wekona has only existed for 3 years, as she said in her closing address, we can just all be in awe and inspired by the change that can be driven and embodied by Dr. Futhi. So thank you so much, Dr. Futhi. I think it also poses a challenge to us all to really show up as entrepreneurs and as change agents to transform the communities and the societies that we operate in. So I really want to pose that as a challenge to everyone in this room to say, let's participate in bettering the economy of South Africa through entrepreneurial skills, as well as through the skills that we have, and ensure that we promote the participation of women in the business and economic world. Our next speaker is Dr. Tuthula Balfour, who is the head of health and Women in Mining lead. I was told to keep the introduction short for the people who are at home, so she is also with the Minerals Council of South Africa. Dr. Balfour is a member of the Institute of Directors of South Africa and currently serves on the South African Health Ministerial Advisory Committee on COVID-19. She had the honor to be named as one of the top 100 global inspirational women in mining in 2018 and is a qualified business coach. We truly are in the presence of greatness. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and a very good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I think in terms of introduction, really, for this, our two last speakers have made a very excellent, background. And I have to admit, part of why we had to do this work was the, let me say, the push from Wekona that we had, because some of you will be our colleagues. The Women in Mining program is about 4 years old. It's going on 4 years. And most of the work we have done has been around, how should we advance women in the working place? And it's because we were, all of us, mostly from mining companies. But this, we are very proud that we are now in the economic space, and it has already been demonstrated why the economic empowerment of women, really goes a long way. So I'm very proud that we could make this contribution. I would also like you to note that we are extra thankful that our service providers who did this work, Cigna, are with us. And so I hope, and in fact, they may have met some of you when they were doing the work. So I hope that all of us will recognize, some of you will recognize the work that has been done here. The project, really, we embarked on a procurement project where we were looking at what companies, the procurement between 2020 and 2022, and it was specifically targeted on women, procurement from women-owned businesses. And the purpose was to establish a baseline for ourselves, because each time we're asked what is happening with procurement, we had nothing to produce. So we are actually quite happy that starting from the data from last year, it means now we have a baseline, and the next time we do any study, we'll be able to show if we are making progress or not. And the context, this is all part of our transformation journey for the Minerals Council, but also for the industry. In terms of, the methodology, we've got 77 members. We took our 2022 membership, 77 members, and 44 were sampled across the commodities, big, small. We had 16 companies that participated. For those of you who are, analytical, statistical, it's 16 companies. It's mainly big companies. And so if maybe this does not resonate as much if you are from a small company, I think there were only about 2 smaller companies. So it's a lot of companies. I think the beauty about that is that it means in terms of the bigger companies with the biggest spend, then this study does talk to what is happening. We had a survey, focus groups, and a benchmarking exercise against other industries. Very briefly on the survey, the procurement spend, on the left is the total procurement spend, how it increased in the industry for those companies that were sampled. So there was an increase in total procurement spend. And for women-owned businesses, they constituted 31% over that 3-year period. And so I think if you are benchmarking us, it's definitely more than the 6% we heard about on, where the state is at. And it's not bad at all compared to even other industries. That also showed growth in the number of suppliers. The women suppliers are about 8,000, more women. And I think it just shows the, passion and the hunger for women to be part of procurement. We then also looked at services and mining goods. Services are things like, the catering, the softer sort of services. Mining goods, capital sort of outlay. And of course, as with most procurement, the services were more than the mining goods. The mining charter, if you are quite accurate, it doesn't quite apply, but we used tried to have a benchmark to say what were the targets in the 2018 mining charter. And for mining goods, it was about 5%, and we outperformed that because procurement was about 10%. But on the services, we have still not yet met that target of 15%. I think maybe what will be good for this meeting is more of the views of women, and maybe if that we can interrogate that more in our panel can interrogate that more. And some of these actually have already been, pointed out in the presentation by Dr. Mtoba. Things like, these are the challenges that women said they had. Finance, access to finance. And also payment by companies, and maybe that is something that mining companies can do something about. There were companies which paid people, in excess of 90 days, which for any small business, it's choking you, it's killing you. And so that was a challenge. The societal and cultural beliefs we heard about, the discrimination, the long-term sustainability, very short contracts, which meant that it's very difficult to plan and be sustainable. The vendor onboarding processes were found in terms of time and money. There's a lot that you invest, and people saw it as a black hole. You do all of that work, and then nothing comes out of it. And then the lack of information, where people felt that there were people with internal connections, and so they had the information whilst they do not have that same information. Compliance, as we know, business, it's difficult. This is not just for women. There are certain requirements. Some of the goods, they require ISO certification, which the women would struggle to have. The ESG, enterprise and supply development programs, these they felt did not sometimes translate to opportunities. And then they would submit contracts, tenders, and there would be no feedback. I have to point out, though, colleagues, that we must also appreciate the big problem we have with unemployment in the country. So some of these are not just for women, it's probably things that even other people do experience. But for us, we are talking about, on behalf of women. The successes, and these are a mirror of the challenges, actually. And I think it shows, for me, it says there is a lot of hope, because all of the challenges that women pointed out, you find that there are also successes on the very same things that they were talking about. Some of them had access to finance from, the companies, loans without interest, and also very good ESD programs which were supporting them. They found that there were networking opportunities which were provided through the companies, and all of those meant they could then improve their businesses. The alumni chapters in the ESD programs, which meant that people were able to share experiences and learn from each other. And the procurement systems, some of the companies, they truly assisted to make sure that payments were on time. And, there were, in fact, the other thing I wanted to point out is that women would also love to have some upfront payments, where sometimes they need to purchase and they don't have that capital. The 30% of subcontracting policy, they found very useful because they use that to get access to contracts. So that's why I'm saying that although there were challenges, there is a lot which is successes. And I hope we will be building, on those successes. Finally, this is the summary of the support women felt they needed from companies: access to markets and business opportunities, more work, opportunities and long-term contracts, as I said, so that people can plan more sustainably, and financial support, preferential treatment, payment terms, upfront payment arrangements, and intentional ESD programs. In some cases, people felt there was too much of the talk workshops, and they needed to be assisted with training. For instance, this could even lead to the next one, which is assistance with compliance, because there's a lot of requirements regarding compliance, and if through those programs they could be assisted, how do you comply with ISO, certifications, then it would mean that they are able to meet the requirements. So that is the end. The full report is available to our Minerals Council members. Through to me, if you'd like to have the report, you can have it. And we are taking it, we've been popularizing it. We're taking it also to our board this month, and we hope that, companies will be able to use it to fill in the gaps, and to have better insight regarding what women need that will assist them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tutula, for that address. I just want to echo her words that if you want to participate, Dumi will share the link with all of us, and we'll be able to contribute, participate in the whole program. So our next speaker is Mark Craig Monroe, who is currently the Group Technical Officer for Implats. He's a registered mining engineer and holds a BCom degree with a major in economics. Mark is an accomplished mining engineer with extensive expertise in leading mining companies at operational, executive, and director level. His career has spanned multiple countries and continents, covering gold, platinum, PGMs, zinc, lead, and copper mining. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the industry. As a third-generation miner, Mark places a strong emphasis on people's development. Beyond his professional achievements, he's an avid cyclist, a qualified advanced open water diver, holder of a skipper's license, and a dedicated Formula One enthusiast. So we can all agree that Mark lives a very exciting life. Throughout his remarkable 35-plus year career, Mark has held pivotal positions ranging from onsetter and minor to chief executive officer and various directorships. Mark's contributions extend beyond the corporate sector. He has served on the board of the Mine Health and Safety Council of South Africa for over 6 years. He's a fellow at the Southern African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, SAIM, and currently sits on the SAIM Council. His vision is to see the mining industry that prioritizes people transforming into a people-centered business where the focus lies not in what can be extracted from individuals, but in how we can grow and develop people and society in general. He's a follower of the care and growth leadership philosophy and a champion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Please help me welcome Mark.
How many years support Formula One? Good. Because I was about to say, half you are thinking, yes, you see a Formula One, typical male chauvinist, is in his cars and his whatever. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's indeed an honor and a privilege for me to stand in front of you today to discuss a topic that's very, very, very close to my heart. Indeed, the future of the human race as it evolves, I believe, depends on this, how we advance our thinking, mature to a higher state. Now, we know there can be no woman empowerment without economic empowerment. You cannot have any form of empowerment if you're not economically empowered. That is the cornerstone. Before I get into my speech, I just want to tell you a quick story. The other day I was out on the mines and I was listening into some young up-and-coming youth, or they weren't really up-and-coming, they'd already advanced quite far. And they were chatting. And it was a young lady who was recently appointed into management on one of our mines, chatting to a young guy who's also moving up the ranks. And this young guy, I'm standing around there, and this young guy, I don't know if he was trying to impress or look clever, but he says to this young lady, he says, "So how did you get this promotion to, well, senior management in mining? How did you get this promotion?" And, you know, I'm listening there, so interested to hear what's her answer. And she says, "Because I can blast more than you." I actually felt so proud. Somehow I felt proud. I said, that is definitely the right answer. Girl, you're empowered. Eh? Because she didn't say, I had a great mentorship scheme, or was part of our bursary development program, or so-and-so helped me there, or because I'm a woman. She didn't have to say that. She was empowered. Now, when I look at, she didn't have to empower herself. It's not her job. It is her job to blast. That is what empowerment is. It is my job, however, to create that space where she can get empowered, where she is empowered. And as senior executives in the mining industry, I think we must put that on our shoulders. It is our job to create that space where we can empower young women to blast. That will be the criteria by which they advance. But that status quo is not what is now on our minds. We have to do a lot of work to create that space. So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry to disappoint you, but I'll now have to start my speech. So, as you gather, I'm deeply passionate about this because I believe a transformation of our societies, of our businesses, our communities, is absolutely critical for the human species to advance. Let us begin with defining what economic empowerment truly means. It encompasses the creation of an environment where women have the opportunity to actively participate in and benefit from economic activities on an equal basis with men. It involves providing women with the tools, resources, and opportunities they need to realize their full potential, both personal and professional. And as I pointed out in the story I told you, it's not up to them to create that. It's up to us as the leaders of industry. However, when we look at the current state of affairs in the mining industry, in South Africa in particular, it is evident that much work needs to be done. I think many reports were quoted, and I have a McKinsey report from 2020 that shows that the mining industry is extremely slow in addressing these challenges and addressing gender diversity, with women occupying only a fraction of the executive ranks, board positions, and C-suite roles. While these statistics are concerning, they also serve as a catalyst for change. They should serve as a wake-up call to us. I'm proud to say that as an industry, very recently, we have started to wake up, and we have showed strides. I think as is evidence from the opening remarks, and indeed the fact that I'm the first male speaker today. Well, Yapi might point out that the first guy that spoke about the fire exit, he was also a male, Yapi. But yes, it is very pleasing to see that when you are addressed by the leaders in the Minerals Council, it's a woman that addresses you. So we have made strides, but we need to work harder. Technology advancements are breaking down the barriers and creating opportunities for women in roles that were previously dominated by men. Take, for example, Siphiwe Plaatje at Impala Rustenburg Operations, who made history as Impala's first female RDO. Now, RDO, that's a rock drill operator. And that was facilitated by the introduction of hydropower rock drills. Additionally, Nonko Mambusa was recently appointed as our first general manager on one of our mines at Impala Rustenburg. She's actually running our largest single operation. She's general manager of 16 Shaft, which is our largest single mine. And this paves the way. This paves the way for future generations of women in leadership positions. At Implats, we are committed to championing gender diversity and empowering women, both within the organization and around in the communities and in society in general. Through various initiatives such as community programs, bursaries, internships, youth development initiatives, we strive to give women a platform for their voices to be heard and their talents to be nurtured. Internally, we have implemented a comprehensive diversity and inclusion strategy aimed at fostering a culture of care and growth. This includes promoting mentoring, retention programs, because we know Yapi likes to steal our talent, as well as establishing forums to break the barriers and lead this positive change. Externally, we place great emphasis on ensuring gender diverse representation among the beneficiaries of our procurement opportunities and enterprise development programs. Promoting diversity and inclusion among suppliers, contractors is a powerful way to drive positive change in and around your mines. By actively seeking out and partnering with diverse suppliers, we not only enhance the vibrancy of our supply chain, but also contribute to economic growth and development in the local communities where we operate. But beyond our own initiatives, it is essential for companies in the mining industry that strive for women's economic empowerment to partner with various other stakeholders. You cannot do it alone. You need to partner with the mines next door to you, the municipalities around your mines, the communities, the churches, the schools, to achieve this transformation. Let us take a little bit of a deeper look into this. It is firstly imperative for mining companies to adopt and implement diversity and inclusion policies. I think that's the foundation and the basis. And specifically address gender equality. These policies should not only advocate for equal pay opportunities, but also support initiatives that foster a more inclusive workplace culture. It is, after all, a culture that has led to this situation, where women feel valued and can thrive. Investing in education and training programs tailored to women interested in pursuing careers in mining is essential. This includes scholarships, internships, mentorship programs aimed at equipping women in the necessary skills and confidence to succeed in the mining industry. As I said, to actually enable them to say, I can blast better than you. On top of this, advocating for the inclusion of women in leadership roles within mining companies is crucial. By promoting the appointment of women to executive positions and boards, we showcase their capability and contribute to diverse decision-making processes in our companies. Ensuring workplace health and safety measures are inclusive and considerate of the specific needs and concerns of women. This is paramount. It must also be recognized that since men are in the clear majority in these decision-making bodies, it actually means you do not have the ability to see the challenge in the first place. You do need to access your women's forums to find out what the real challenges on the ground are. You will be blinded by your own upbringing and background. It will take the men that are running the mines some courage to open up and listen to the women on the ground as to what the actual challenges are. It is important to have community engagement initiatives that involve women in development projects relating to mining activities that can empower women in the local communities and create a more positive perception about our industry and about our companies. Invest in technology. This will make mining companies more inclusive and accessible to a diverse workforce. It is a difficult environment. We need to make it more suitable for women. In fact, I believe we need to strive to make it more suitable for everyone, because, to be honest, our stoping environment, especially in our conventional mines, is not suitable to any human. We need to make changes. This transformation of our working places to facilitate the transformation of our workforces is absolutely critical. We need to recognize that this will require the allocation of funds for research and development in this area that can drive the innovation and efficiency within the industry. I think it was also previously mentioned, we need transparency in data collection and reporting on gender diversity within the workforce, so that we can correctly identify the areas that require improvement. And we can start holding companies accountable for their progress. Fostering collaboration between mining companies, government bodies, non-profit organizations, and educational institutions is key to creating a collective effort in advancing gender equality in the mining industry. As I said, no single company or entity will be able to do this on their own. Furthermore, promoting procurement practices that support and promote women-owned businesses in the supply chain for the mining industry can drive economic empowerment and foster diversity within the industry and within our communities and society in general. Small, medium, and micro enterprise led by women should be specifically supported and encouraged. In conclusion, achieving women's economic empowerment in the mining industry requires a concerned effort for all stakeholders. It is not just a matter of diversity and inclusion, it's about creating a more equitable and prosperous future for all. By addressing these aspects, investors can contribute to creating a more equitable and progressive mining industry that harnesses the diverse talents and perspectives of both men and women. Together, let us continue to work towards a world where women have equal opportunities to thrive and succeed in the mining industry and beyond. I think I did actually have a presentation for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give her another round of applause. What Mark has just touched on reminds me of an African proverb which says that if you want to go faster, you can go alone. But if you want to go further, we have to go together. And I think that the work that him and his team are doing exemplifies the principles of that African proverb. So let's give him another round of applause. We're now going to go into our panel discussion, which will be moderated by Ms. Zimkita Gova. And we will be talking about investing in women to accelerate progress, as is the theme of today. And we'll be focusing on the mining sector strategic outlook. I know that in some places they call the panel discussion a fireside conversation. But I think, given our mining background, I don't think we've done our mini hires to have a fireside conversation. I'd like to invite Zimkita Gova, who is an entrepreneurship, development and diversity, equity and inclusion strategist with over 20 plus years of professional and business experience in varying industries. She's also very passionate about women economic empowerment, leadership development, and economic development. She has strengths in compliance, corporate services, business development, program design, implementation in SMME development. She advocates for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging with an abundance of entrepreneurial and entrepreneurship development experience. Zimkita has a strong understanding of the business landscape across the country. She has worked with numerous companies ranging from small-scale startups to mid and large-sized corporations offering financial and business support services, especially for funding facilitation. Please help me welcome Zimkita Gova. She will then introduce the panelists who will partake in the discussion. Thank you. Over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for that introduction. So in my panel today, I will be joined by Dr. Futhi Mtoba, co-chair Women's WECONA, Women's Economic Assembly. Mr. Yapi Fulat, CEO of Glencore SA and Chair of Mineral Council, CEO, Zero Harm Forum. Mr. Mark Munro, the Chief Technical Officer of Impala. And Ms. Deboho Mosito, CEO of the Toho Engineering Timo Foundation. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. To set the tone for our discussion today, our conversation will be focused on gender diversity, gender-based violence and femicide, safety of women in the mining sector, and participation of women-owned businesses in mining corporate supply chain. So the International Labour Organization has defined a gender balanced organization as having between 40 and 60 ratio of women to men. This ratio, according to the ILO, is the baseline of sustainability. In mining, this translates to 3 to 4 women in a crew, and currently women only make up to 15% of the workforce in the mining. We have heard the stats when Dr. Futhi was painting for us how the atmosphere is here in South Africa, the participation of women-owned businesses within the mining sector. So in starting our conversation, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Mark. In your opinion and experience, what are the strong drivers of gender? I'm gonna have you here. Yeah, so what, in your opinion and experience, what are the strong drivers of gender equality in an organization?
Well, I think, as I mentioned in my discussion, there's various things that you must have. If you don't have mentorship programs, you're not going to be successful. If you don't have equal bursaries for all, you're not going to be successful. And as I went through in the list, you need all of that. But that's the foundation. I think the difference maker, you can actually go to the businesses, the mines, or the companies, or the communities, and you'll pick up wherever the leader puts it on their agenda, and wherever the leader drives it with a passion, it happens. So in a nutshell, if you had to say, what is the one differentiator between where diversity happens and where it doesn't happen? It is the passion and the leader's commitment to have it on their agenda and push it forward.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Dr. Futhi, you spoke about the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. And we do know that gender-based violence is a phenomenon, it's deeply rooted in gender inequality. Now, why is it important to have this as a national strategy? And is it important to have gender-based violence as an important strategy within nationally?
Just picture this. You are this up-and-coming woman who's aiming to move to the top of your organization, and you have a challenge at home, right? So through that, you are unable to perform your duties at your workplace. And how the workplace interprets that is that you are not capable of performing. They don't understand that you don't come alone, you come as a person with everything else. So it is important that organizations understand their role also in supporting women in the gender-based violence. At the National Strategic Plan, we're really pushing very hard on the legislation. We have a view that just as much as if you are found having had your hand in the till, you cannot be a director. We believe any man who has been found to have been involved in any gender-based violence relationship can never hold a CEO role, because we are trying to say, here's this man, he's just left his wife bleeding at home, standing, how that doesn't really gel. So we want to escalate this to that legislative point, that you cannot hold a leadership role because you cannot run your family. Obviously, you cannot run an inclusive institution because that beats you from your smallest institution where love is, compared to that other one.
Wow, thank you for that, Dr. Futhi. We are vouching for that. I'm sure every woman here will support that. So, Mr. Yapi Fulat, we're talking safety in the mining sector. It is a key concern for both women that are working within the mining industry and also women in the mining host communities. What are some of the strategies available to mining organizations to combat gender-based violence in the sector?
Good morning. I must say, I feel like the accused here. So for me, obviously, for us as Glencore, it's very important. As Mark said, this is a topic on our agenda every single day. Every single meeting that we start with this, and we start with diversity, and we start with ideal. But how do you take this back home is more important than just a piece of paper. So obviously, as you also did hear from from, you know, is it Cersei Noliti? Huh? Nolita? Cersei? Booty? She's my Cersei. She said that Glencore, we were the first company that actually built a purpose-built Tutuzela in a care center. And how did we do that? I mean, we did it in consultation with, you know, with the people and with the women to say, what would be the best for you? You know, in many cases, men think that, you know, we know, but we all know that that's not true. If you don't have participation and buy-in from the women, starting at your workplace, also looking at the communities and ask their inputs, you will never be successful. So I think for me, that's really important. So how do you entrench that into your business is critical. I mean, if you have a look at the safety of our people, I mean, I am going to tell you some stories, some really horror stories in terms of gender-based violence. And that's the reality. I mean, all of this, you know, we are sitting here today smartly dressed and all of that. But back at the homes and back at the communities today, now, there are violence. And what are we doing to stop that? And I think that is more important. You know, how do you take the words back into actions? And there's various examples of CCTV cameras. We can have GPS, we can have panic buttons, and those are the type of things that we're rolling out. And already at Alloy's division, rolled out already. I mean, self-defense classes to women. I mean, how ridiculous is that? But I mean, these are the things that we need to do. Women need to protect themselves. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that. Now, Tebogo, as an entrepreneur, we've had, it was one of the speakers here said that there is no women empowerment without economic empowerment. For you to be fully empowered, you also need to be economically empowered. And that also translates to access to opportunities within corporate supply chain. Now, as an entrepreneur in the space, what are some of the challenges that are experienced by women-owned mining companies in accessing corporate supply chain and also in building sustainable businesses?
Thank you. I'm going to speak on behalf of women in mining business as a whole, not only focusing on my business, but I want to be more practical like you, Yapi, taking it home. One of the biggest challenge for me and for all the women, unequal opportunities, especially in the mining supply value chain, because a lot of women, we come from previously disadvantaged areas. I myself, I'm from a rural village called Maile in Rustenburg, just near Impala Platinum. Currently, most of the mines are moving into e-commerce. A lot of rural women don't even know how to get into Ariba or Cooper system. It's one of the biggest challenge. Some of them, they don't have access to laptops. They don't have Wi-Fi, internet opportunities. So we find a lot of women from Gauteng tendering for opportunities which us as women from rural villages could be tendering in, but because there's access, the lack of access to technology, information, and some of the biggest challenges. When you come, I can give an example, Mark, from my rural village. Well, I grew up there, but then I went to stay with my grandmother in Lunga, and then I came to Joburg. I think for me, I became more advanced technologically and otherwise because I moved to Gauteng. And I spend most of my time, accessing, opportunities and trying to share with other women. But one of the biggest challenge is the infrastructure. If you want to go and submit a tender document at Impala and you're staying in Rustenburg in Maile village, you have to first travel to town, from town to Impala, but it's within 20-kilometer radius because a lot of women don't have cars, but they have that potential and the knowledge and the drive and they want to participate. But I think in terms of, with the mines, you first need to capacitate those women. Instead of having a enterprise supply development, maybe centers around the town. You need to go to the villages and say, how can we have this Wi-Fi hotspot where women can then tender? Or how can we have these road shows, as part of SLPs, that we can share information to women, not only about the procurement opportunities, but even for career opportunities. I mean, my background is HR. I struggle to get a job in HR, from the mines. When I go to every mine, they're like, do you know SAP? SAP. Then, luckily, I went to Anglo. That time, they took me for training. And then I did that SAP HR, and then I worked for corporate HR. But then I went back home. I see all the trucks, all the mining opportunities. Where are the women? And I said, no, I'm going to resign from this HR. I need to go to the mines. And yeah, just to answer you, I don't want to dwell too much on the challenge, but if you go to the mine, like Mark said, I went to Impala. I'm happy you are here, because Impala, they built my company. Not really investing money, but listening to my challenge. So your background is HR and you want to do engineering. I said, yeah, I can build these chutes. If you give me an opportunity, I can do this. And they put me on that enterprise development program. And if you are committed as a woman, you don't want to just be trained. You also want to be given the resources to do that. I mean, there's a challenge of host community issues. If you are from Rustenburg, and you're not staying, closer to Anglo, for example. I'm just giving an example. Then they say you are not immediate host community, therefore you can't tender for this. But women who are in that immediate facility, like in Glencore or Krundal operations, they don't even know what to do at the mines. They don't know that supply value chain. So when you come, you need to either be given an opportunity to tender, collaborate with other women, and not be blocked because of you are not cluster 1, tier 1, you are tier 2, tier 3. There should be opportunities of collaboration amongst the women so that we don't even fight amongst each other as SMEs, because they think, okay, Tebogo started with Impala 2015, now it's 2024. She must give other women a chance. Now her company is growing. She's experiencing a lot of challenges now because she needs to comply like the big companies, ISO certification. Impala would come to my factory and say, okay, let's look at your facility. You don't have a 10-ton crane. Out of their ESD budget, they should say, how can we empower her in order to build these big cages that she thinks she can build? And how can we give her access to funding? If MQA is here, I was saying, MQA, allocate funds for these women so that we can train the unemployed youth and give them portable skills, because these mines are going to close, and it will be us as women who will be faced with challenges, because our kids will be roaming around the streets, doing drugs, because they can't be employed at the mines. They don't know what to do. They don't even know what is there that they need to do at the mines. Those are the challenges we face. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tebogo. Now, Dr. Futi, back to you. We heard earlier on Dr. Balfour presenting the findings from the report that was done by the Mineral Council in working together with Wikona. At a strategic level, how can the objectives of Wikona further be advanced to achieve the greater goal of stamping out gender-based violence in society?
So firstly, I just want to agree with the points that have been made earlier on. Firstly, around the issue of leadership and representation. So one of the key, in our frameworks, what we measure is the ecosystem of support. And by that, we mean what is the capacity building that supports the woman entrepreneur? Who are the people in leadership roles that are women, or in management roles? Because we believe that role modeling is very important. And representation and diversity brings a perspective that the people in the room who are now men don't understand. So they will not know some of the nuances that women have to deal with. So the representation is also one of the key factors. So I just wanted to support the view across. In terms of the strategies, no, we were very pleased for the Mining Council to really undertake the report, because what WICONA is trying to do is to be action-oriented and then fact-based in terms of addressing the challenges. So for every sector, we understand the supply chain. What is the supply chain? What does it entail? Where are low-hanging fruits in terms of what you can access immediately? And then critically, what are those things that you need to do to prepare women to access the opportunities? Because the story of saying there are no women, we are saying women are educated now. They just need to be, to know what is the plan. For an example, you mentioned the digital. The digital challenge is a big thing because the new economy already talks about that and saying there will be opportunities for women and young people. But if they are not prepared, data requires infrastructure. So they need to be, in terms of the planning, how do you solve for this problem? You need the number of players. That's why for us as WICONA, we love the fact that we are in collaboration of government, civil society, and private sector. So when we can sit around and say, this is an issue that requires your action, because you can't do it alone. The problems that are faced today are so complex. So that from a strategic level is then to use that convening of those critical actors in order to address in a meaningful way the problems that are faced.
Thank you, Dr. Now, Mark, back to you. We know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the buzzword within the workplace. And I'm happy to hear that the mining sector is also embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion. But we know the challenges behind that. It is still regarded as a softer or not too important factor within corporates. Now, my question is it important, and why is it, if yes, why is it important to have diversity, equity, and inclusion as part of a business's core strategy? And how can this be achieved?
No, thank you. No, I just want to start off by, this thing of small things like Wi-Fi and printers and stuff like that. I'm sure you're aware that close to Luca, just up the road from the Impala offices, where my office used to be, we built a center called Economic Inclusion Center that opens free Wi-Fi for anyone, not just to do business with us, but you can come and use that. Plus, there's printers, boardrooms, there's actually accountants that we put there to help you just work out how to do your balance sheet, your income statement, or whatever. So you're actually supported in that, and that just allows you to get in the door, I suppose. Because, I get daunted when I look at these forms you have to fill in. It scares me, so it'll scare everyone. Yes. No, it has to, transformation has to move away from the human resource support function into the main function. And I think as is evident in our good progress that the industry has been making over the year in safety, it's not the job of the safety officers to make sure the mines are safe. It's the job of line. They're supported by safety officers. And I think the real energy comes in when, yes, you are supported by human resource through data or mentorship programs, et cetera, et cetera. However, it is line's core function to transform your business. And you'll see the companies that make it a priority in the line from the CEO downwards, and those that don't. It's clear evident, because people will do what the boss, what do they say, what amuses the boss fascinates me, or vice versa. So people do that, and they will follow the boss. So it's absolutely critical that you visibly put it on your agenda and exhibit it to your people, and then show them how it's done. Now, you can go to the average mine captain or general manager and say, you know, where are you doing in this? They do not regard it as serious. They'll push it to, yeah, here's your data, get your data and show what we're doing. Let's talk about tons and ounces. So I think it is imperative for us to highlight that, you know, to be successful in your core business, producing ounces safely at a decent margin, if you want to make that sustainable and better, you have to access diverse thinking, different ideas, a more stable business, a more stable community. You can't operate safe mines in a community where violence is rampant or gender-based violence is rampant. You can't do it. It's very difficult. So you have to look at, if you truly want to be sustainable, it must be on your core agenda to make your business safe, transform it, to access these different ideas, you know, put things at ease where people feel confident in coming to work, putting forward ideas, giving their best at work and at home, and moving your business forward in that area. And then once the people realize that if I want to outperform in delivering safe tons, this has to be on my agenda. And I think we can learn about how we did it in safety when the line realized this is the only way that you can morally mine correctly. Then it becomes imperative, and every line will adopt that and move it forward. I think as leaders, we need to identify that in our people. I think we had a debate the other day on the CEO roundtable on safety about how do you bonus for safety, or should you or shouldn't you? I suppose that comes, is it on the KPIs of leaders? Should you reward a leader if they are driving diversity? I suppose there's still much debate and there's many views on it. But I think somewhere we have to mature past that to a point is you won't get hired in the first place if this isn't a priority on your agenda. I won't bonus you for it. I'll fire you if you don't do it. And that's where we need to get to. Yeah?
Thank you so much. As we are wrapping up, we're going to allow for Q&A. I have one last question for you, Yapi. As an industry, how do we center women's safety in the world of work and change the culture to ensure safety for all?
I mean, obviously, this is a very topical question, and it's something that the Minerals Council also drive extremely hard. I mean, if you think about all these forums that we've got, women in mining, safety for women, I mean, we've seen in the past what happens if you leave women alone at a conveyor drive. And we know that there's not proper lighting. So obviously you can expect things to happen. And I mean, how do we, coming back to Mark's point, as leaders make sure that we enable our women to feel safe, feel appreciated for the work that they're doing? I mean, ultimately, you know, we don't create work for women or for men. All of us has got a responsibility. And I mean, I can just remember a couple of years ago that we didn't even have proper, you know, toilet facilities. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think about it, but this is exactly what happened. So we had to do a total mind shift. I mean, if you think about South Africa, currently we've got 72,000 females out of 460,000 people. That's about 15 to 16% of our workforce is females. And yet we've got areas and mines that do not even or think that PPE, personal protective equipment, for females are too expensive to do it, specifically for them. But we all understand. I mean, we are built differently. We are wired differently, and that's the way that we made, and we must embrace it. I think there are too many times that we are fighting within businesses of what's right and what's wrong. We know that it is what it is, and that's the way that we should do it. So there's a lot of things in terms of making sure that women don't work alone. I mean, you can de-risk, and I think that's what we do, and that's why we've got Women in Mining forums, to make sure that we as leaders understand the challenges of our females so that we can make real differences. Because if you want your people to feel wanted in your business, then you must do something about that.
Thank you so much to everyone for your participation. I'm going to allow for Q&A. Unfortunately, because we do not have much time, we'll only allow for 3 questions.
Good morning. My name is Gina White. I hear everyone talking about the end result or the end development. But as the man on the left so aptly said, we're all in here smartly dressed. But I know I can speak for every woman in the room when I say that even the smartly dressed and the women who have access to computers and Wi-Fi and who have access to resources, we deal with gender-based violence as well. Whether it's a misogynistic comment or it's a subtle, like you said, it's a nuance that only women can pick up. And to me, that tells me that this is a core problem that's starting before it even gets to the minds. And my question is prevention before it even occurs. Are we able to identify in these communities who comes from these? Is this an everybody thing, or is it a certain kind of man thing? Is there a way to identify this early before it happens? Is there some form of counseling that needs to take place? Maybe the men need healing before they even get to us having to protect women, because protecting women should be a core human right. We shouldn't even have to think about something like this. This is happening all over the world in every sector. And I think we need prevention and preventative matters first, not first, but both are important. What can we do to prevent this from even happening in the first place when people are children, when men are boys, or I'm sorry, it happens to men as well, when women are girls? Is there a way to do that?
There's a couple of ways of doing that. I think days like today, the snapshots, stopping and pausing and thinking and talking about it and realizing it. That's the first step. Secondly, economically empowering women is a very important factor. The more you empower women economically, the less dependent they are on men. So that means that they don't have to sit and wait for the men to come home tonight and then abuse or be subjected to abuse. So for me, that's a very important point, is that the more we can enable women, or in terms of economically, it will mean that they can stand up much more, first of all. Secondly, if I think about the Thuthuzela care centers, it's a process that you've got where you allow women to go to these centers where they can be listened to. And also, if you have a look at, again, the Thuthuzela care centers, the integration between the care for the women and the police side of that. So that means that you can start to convict the people that's actually doing that. For me, that's the starting point. Yeah, I just wanted to give that. Thanks.
I can just add to that. I think it's an important point that you pick up. So it is men that are doing this. It's not women that are doing it to each other. We must come to terms with that. And it is sad that you have to protect women. you need to get to a place where you don't need to protect women. It's a safe environment that we can operate and think freely and act freely. And if you go back to, so why are certain men doing this? Well, I think your question is, so who's doing it? First of all, we heard the stats. It is South Africans. It's 5 times more prevalent here than in the world. So it's South African men. So when we look, I mean, there's lots of inputs into this. Our history is fairly violent. We have this poverty, we have disempowerment of major sectors of our, and the moment you're disempowered, you have unnatural outlets to that, which create a violent environment. So I think you have to get out of that. Now, what do you call behavior that's typical of a lot of people in a group? You call that culture. Now, we must admit it. We have a culture in South Africa that is very violent, and it's, from a man's side, it's violent towards women. So how do you change culture? It's very difficult to change a 40, 50-year-old. There you protect. So you do need to start with what's happening in our schools, how we brought up, how we socialized at a very, very young age. And it's a national issue. So this must come on that agenda. How do we change our behavior and our culture from, I said maybe a little bit past birth, but from birth onwards to create a future that is indeed sustainable, that is not violent, that is tolerant, that works together to create wealth for everyone and not fighting with each other.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question, I'm from Sibanye Stillwater, and you know, with the competing priorities of production, etc., we need to do a lot of training for men underground, particularly around sexual harassment, GBV. How do you balance that? You need to, you know, people need to be productive. You can't bring them out from underground, but you need to train them, and you need to. It's very important to do this training. So how do you manage, particularly in the platinum sector, given the situation? Thanks.
Well, from the platinum, I'll let the chrome guys talk later. No, you see, so we do have induction programs, we do have awareness programs, but if it is lying, then you don't take the person out from work and put them in a 3-day seminar on not to beat up on women. That doesn't really help. You keep it in line. It is you drive the culture, the behavior. So when the Shabas or the Minivers here goes into the Stopes, into the working place, this is topics, this is how we do it. And then you exhibit it top down. As we say, you know, a child, in any case, doesn't listen to I have children, so they don't listen to you. They do follow you, and they act like you. Now, whether we like it or not, our people, they do listen to us sometimes, but they follow us. They will see what we want, how we behave, how we act, and what is important to us. And that'll filter through your business, and that'll become your culture. So I'm not a great advocate of, you know, let's have a 3-day workshop with my drillers to tell them not to hit women. I mean, that is just a waste of time. It needs to be how you drive the culture, how you drive the behavior, and what you accept as normal.
Yeah, and I just would like to add that really legislation in some of the countries has helped a lot. So I sit in a mining company in Australia, and in the audit committee, the other day we were making a joke with the chair of the audit committee, said, can you imagine that today we didn't talk about numbers? We were dealing about issues of sexual harassment and gender-based violence, what has happened to what, looking at the reports. And I think the awareness that's there now, and also supported by legislation and programs that also encourage women to speak out. Because the challenge was to speak out to who? And then what happens to you? So when the woman speaks out, they need to see that men leave that organization. It doesn't matter how many tons he produces, he must be out. Then it encourages and starts building a culture where people see that this issue is just as important as the bottom line, because it does contribute to the bottom line. So the awareness and also just the programs that are there now in companies are really yielding results. I'm encouraged.
Thank you. That's our last question.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Mabato Maje, and I'm from Anglo American. Been working there as active mine overseer and also from Association of Women in Mining. It's an NGO that also deals with issues like GBV and women empowerment around especially the mining host communities. So the issue that we are also encountering is I hear and we attend most of these events, and the CEOs will be saying, we want to assist, we are here, and they outline all the strategies and plans on how are they going to assist with such issues of maybe or lay a ground of women entering into the space. But honestly speaking, when you go to the operations, it's difficult. It's even difficult. I would give an example. For me, even as a woman, I'm now 25 years in the mining industry. I'm having my mine overseer certificate since 2011, and I'm still not appointed. It's so difficult. We've got NGO that runs with GBV and everything and unemployment in the mine hosting communities. But you go to the operations and say, listen, this is what I want to do. Can you help us? We've got a group of women that are GBV'd every day, that are killed, that are raped. We've got youth that are pregnant each and every day right here, impregnated by even some of your employees. And when we are saying, can you please help us address these issues, they don't come on board. So we need our CEOs as well. We need you, Mama, to go there, to go down there, and at least workshop those managers in the operation, those HR in the operations, those social development departments in the operation, to at least know your strategies, to at least, entertain such women when they come and say, listen, here I am, I still want to do mining. I'm here for 18 years or 12 years. I mean, you cannot say you cannot give a person an experience who has been in the mining industry for 25 years, started as a miner or as an RDO, and you still say you still don't have enough experience to be a mine overseer, even after she has acted for more than 10 years. We've got companies, like even now we've got women companies, a database that has got women companies. We go to the mines, to the operations. We cannot be assisted, but we come here, we listen to you, and we can hear, we've got hope. You go to the operation, nothing. Closed doors.
You can answer and then.
Thank you. I can only speak for my company. And I can tell you, in my company, I've got examples. And my examples are sitting here today. It is all about action. And stop talking. It's all about action. If you've got a strategy and you want to make sure that you have got a free place, a free work place without violence, any person can put up their hand. It is our responsibility as leaders to make sure that if that's your strategy, you must have a structure. If you've got proper women in mining structures, I mean, I've got women in mining committees at every single shaft. They've got a voice. It's been raised to the senior group. That will be raised through to me. It's on my table. That's how serious I take this. The one thing that we must all understand, and I've got extremely good examples, and I want to use this example because you are a lot of women here today. Mark, we are feeling a bit outnumbered here. But I promise you, there's one thing that we will never do. We will never put a person into a job and set that person up for failure. Never. So if you're a woman, you must understand the first thing is I'm not going to appoint you because you're a woman. It's because you are capable of doing the job. And I want to give you a very, very good example today. We've got a president, the first female president of the Minerals Council, sitting right in front of me here. Nolita, Cersei. Now I can promise you, she was appointed not because she's a lady. She was appointed because she's extremely competent. And I want you to give her a hand. The people that's sitting in front of me here are part of my team. They are not here because they are ladies. Yes, that's secondary, because they are competent. And it's very important that we understand this, is that people stand up and say, yes, we must change, and we must change. I mean, 16% is not good enough. Out of 51%. South Africa's population, 51% females, but we're sitting on 60%, 16%. It's unacceptable. It took us 133 years to get to 16%. It's pathetic. And we need to do something urgently, but we must do it responsibly. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I am going to close, but before I close, I'm just going to give Utebogo to make our last contribution on the topic. But thank you so much. It is obvious next time we need more time. 20 minutes was not enough. Thank you. Over to you, Utebogo.
Okay, thank you. I agree with some of the comments from Yapi. I always say to people, the reason I love sharing my story, I want to also indicate that if you are resilient and you push these mining companies and you empower yourself, you train yourself, you show them that you want to be competent, they do open doors. Just to answer you from Awimsa, I was also facing that challenge that you knock on doors, they are not opening. Maybe it's because you are not specific in terms of what do you want to do. Somebody will ask you a question. So who are you? What do you provide? And like most of the women, we find that we're doing many things. So I think we also need to focus on one specific, challenge, and then you provide that solution to the mine. So when you go to the mine, you also do a research to say, what problems are they having? And then you solve that problem for them. It really helped in terms of getting into most of the mining companies, especially around Northwest, also in Limpopo. But just in closing, not to waste your time, we talked about safety, and we don't mention psychological safety of women, whether it's women contractors or whether it's women employees. I was chatting with Dr. Balfour this morning to say, I was on the verge of getting out of this mining procurement industry because of, as you can say, some of the women, we don't have enough funds to run projects for 3 months without being paid. And the mines, they don't look at how it's affecting you psychologically because you are employing people. I myself, for example, I have like 65 employees. To wait 120 days, to get payment, and you owing suppliers, and you need to get credit, and as a woman, it gets so frustrating. Even women employees, they end up resigning, from work because they don't find solutions. But I think if you keep on knocking and you participate, I'm currently part of the Anglo-Zimele program. I started with Impala Enterprise Supply Development. These organizations, they help us. You build strong relations. My challenge with supplying Impala was, I don't have access to credit to supply maybe 3 million worth of steel. But then I was introduced to Max Steel, who said, okay, we can give you this on credit, 60-day payment terms. It also solves the issues of you don't have funds because there's this company that's willing to work with you. And with Glencore on Rehuapele, they do vetting. So when they vet you as an SME, they say, okay, she meets all the criteria. She's only maybe lacking ISO. As a contractor, you want to get these big projects, then you need to invest in having that ISO certification. So I must say, we also need to just push, but they need to open opportunities for those who are showing resilience and showing that we can do this. And those who are already there, we need to at least subcontract the other women to come in so that it can be many of us, because we can't really accept only the 30-70 subcontracting, because some of the women, we can do 50-50, but we need the support. And, to raise your voice, something will change after today. And I'm willing to engage with you and we can change this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful, powerful conversation. What a powerful panel. And I hope the conversation carries on even after this. Can we give our panel discussion another round of applause? So, ladies and gents, we are chasing a bit, we are a bit behind on time. So I'm going to request that we take just a 5 to 7 minutes comfort break. I do encourage you to grab something to eat and come back to the table, and then we have a working sort of snacking conversation afterwards, because we're going to celebrate our women in our safety heroes after the session. So I want you to also just sharpen your voices, because we will be ululating left, right, and center and getting into that celebratory mode. So I'm giving you 5 minutes. Please work with me so that we can catch up on time. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Zanele Madinane. I am the Health, Safety, Environment and Risk Manager at South 32 Hillside Aluminium. As the manager of the HSER function, my work is centered around ensuring effective risk management, compliance with regulatory and company requirements, and continual improvement in HSER performance. More importantly, I'm responsible for successfully delivering on the Hillside HSER strategy. Diversity and inclusion is one of our focus areas where we are seeing vast improvements in our working environment. I am humbled and honored to be selected as a safety hero. The work that we do on site with the teams is to ensure that everyone goes home safe and well at the end of every day. I am grateful that the work that I do is recognized by my colleagues. A safe operation is a productive and stable operation. I've been leading conversations and interventions on site to challenge our teams to improve how they execute the work. The goal has been to connect with hearts and minds of everyone on site so that the choices they make on site are safe and ensures that everyone goes home safe every shift, shift after shift after shift.
My name is Charmaine Matlo. I'm a facilitator. I'm also a chairperson for Women in Mining, Northam-Zonderende. As a woman pursuing a career in mining, I found motivation in breaking gender stereotypes, contributing to diversity in this male-dominated industry. I saw an opportunity for professional growth, challenging work environments, and making a positive impact not only towards my fellow female colleagues, but for the mining community as a whole. Being selected as a safety hero evoked a sense of pride, accomplishment, and recognition. It signifies that my commitment to safety practices is not only noticed, valued, but celebrated. This achievement has helped to boost my confidence and inspired my peers. Overall, this has created a positive and empowering experience, fostering a sense of belonging and leadership in the organization.
I'm Mariska Bolton, Senior HRD Business Partner at Glencore Eastern Mines. I'm the Senior HRD Business Partner responsible for competencies within Glencore Eastern Mines. I believe I was nominated for the Women in Mining Safety Hero Award because of my creativity and commitment to change processes and procedures to ensure that our employees are competent to perform their work safely. I'm feeling really honored to be nominated as a Women in Mining Safety Hero, but I don't do anything for recognition. I believe that everybody should contribute to the safety of our employees. I believe this safety initiative will improve innovation through new technology to ensure that employees work safe, but also to share best practices within the industry. The impact of competencies within the mining sector is really important. And that's why I truly believe that we need to do this properly.
My name is Oma Morale. I'm a safety advisor at Kolomela Mine. The reason why I was selected or to give more context on my role as a safety advisor, I ensure that I enforce compliance through various campaigns which I run in the organization. What I did was to run campaign through where employees will raise I care buddies. They were able to engage one another in their work environment, and just to ensure that when one is working unsafe, the body will be able to stop that person and correct them. I grew up at the village named Bengesford. As a small girl, I used to see people experiencing the impact which is brought by the incidents that happen in a mining industry. In a village back in the days, we'll sit around the fire. Sometimes my mother will manage to say, there's no vegetable at home because Lindiwe's father got injured, he's no longer going at work. The incidents which were happening around the village, they were rooted in me. So I said to her, how can I prevent the incidents which most of the village members, they went through? And she managed to say, I heard about something called safety management, and it's going to be the future of the mining industry. And my goal always remained the same way. Each and every employee must go home safe the same way they've entered the mine.
One of the major risks associated with underground workings is fall of ground. Over the years, women have been afraid to work underground because they thought that it's unsafe and it's dangerous. At Black Rock Mine Operation, the rock engineer put some initiative in place such as visual reality, physical rock engineering models, whereby before women can proceed underground, they have been taken through all the FOG associated hazard and also the control that are put in place in order to prevent that fall of ground. Now women at BRMO find underground workings a desirable working environment and a safe working environment for them.
Hi everyone, my name is Julina Naidu and I'm the Surface Plant Production Manager for Wessels Mines, which is part of the Hotazel Manganese Mines of South 32. About 2 years ago, South 32 embarked on a journey to design and develop the contractor management system of work, which was based on several fatality learnings from across our business. At H&M, I was tasked to lead this body of work. Through a diverse team, we were able to design and implement a framework which meets the needs of our contractor partners, but more importantly ensures their overall health and safety is maintained. In the midst of implementing the process, H&M suffered a fatality. However, as a team, we remained resolute in ensuring the system of work was implemented. In my time as contractor manager, I was humbled and blessed to be able to serve the people of H&M, to implement a process which guarantees safe outcomes and ensures that our people go home safe and well every day. Thank you.
My name is Nandi Sibanyoni. I'm the Executive Head of Safety, Health and Environment at Kumba Iron Ore, which is part of the Anglo-American Group. The purpose of my role is to set direction and develop systems that ensure that safety is integrated in all our operations. By doing that, we ensure that we create an environment where it's impossible for someone to get hurt. I was very, very humbled by the nomination. However, I'd like to give credit to all the 1,000 men and women, as well as service partners of Kumba Iron Ore, who for 365 days and 24/7 stand up for safety and being unconditional about it. We focused the most on interventions of risk reduction as well as leadership time in the field. And by doing that and being intentional about it, we've seen a significant improvement in not only the lagging indicators, but also our leading indicators. How I got into mining? So I've always loved the outdoors, and I started as an environmentalist. But having started my career in mining, and then developed the love for safety. So if I were to come back in my next life, what else will I do? I'll still come back to mining and I'll still be a safety hero.
I have been advocating, empowering, providing guidance to women in mining and assisting to ensure that their voices are heard. I am also ensuring that they are provided with necessary support, their issues and challenges are addressed. Issues relating to women in mining, personal protective equipment, women in mining facilities, sexual harassment, gender-based violence, as well as bullying and harassment in the workplace. Have been driving impactful awarenesses and sharing best practices at the Rustenburg Tripartite Forum in promotion of safety, health, and security of women. Mining career promises an enriching, fulfilling, rewarding journey where one can thrive, evolve, and excel. It offers opportunities, chances to learn and explore different environment and innovative technology. Whether you are a miner, engineer, a geologist, project manager, or HR, mining has a place for you. For growth, specialization, it offers diverse skill sets and interest. It's an energetic environment. It keeps you on your toes day in and day out.
Greetings, South Africa. My name is Yugen Chetty, and I am a proud South 32 employee. South 32 has empowered me with a voice and has instilled in me a sense of purpose. In my role as Health, Safety, Environment, Risk, and Program Manager, I not only have the unique opportunity to touch the hearts and minds of people, I also have the opportunity to be a catalyst for change. Going home safe and well at the end of each day is a value that I embed with passion to guarantee that everyone goes home safe and well. I am truly honored to be named Women in Mining Safety Hero, and I am committed to driving the women in mining as well as the culture transformation agenda in the mining industry. Let us continue to strive for excellence in safety in the mining industry. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelili Tsipa. I'm the Group Manager, Safety Health at Exxaro Resources. My role at Exxaro is to ensure that our operations are compliant to the occupational health, hygiene, safety, rules and regulations, and internal Exxaro standards. Furthermore, is to promote safe working environment through implementation of 5 safety focus areas which have been approved within Exxaro, and these 5 focus areas have been tried and tested over the years. In addition to that, my role focuses on implementation of the health, hygiene strategies which are centered around 3 pillars, and these pillars are prevention, diagnosis, and management pillar. So these pillars, when you have a look at them, really is to say that we want to place a focus on prevention of diseases and exposure to environmental hazards. Once people have been exposed to those, we diagnose and then we manage them. I'm grateful for this nomination. I do not take it lightly. If anything, it presents a challenge of encouraging more women to join the mining industry and actively participate in this industry, which drives our economy. I believe leaders like Dr. Nombasa Tsengwa, who is our CEO, have not only opened the doors for us or for people like me, she actually held it open so that we can enter this industry as women. The ball is in my court now, and I am challenged to continue driving safety through implementation of preventative measures and deliver on our zero harm vision. One death or injury is one too many.
Thank you so much for just allowing us to just take a bit of time from your tea break. But we have almost reached the end of our program, and with that, I want to invite the next speaker to the stage, who is Yapi Fullard. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Glencore Alloys. Yapi is the Chief Executive Officer of Glencore Alloys since 2019. Yapi started his career in 1988, before I was born. Yapi started his career in 1988 in the coal mining industry. As an apprentice electrician at Dacre Mining, he qualified in 1990 and started studying for engineering. Yapi moved around with various disciplines and occupations while studying and obtained his government certificate of competency in 95, roundabout where I was born. He practiced as chief engineer at various operations and furthered his studies in mining engineering. In 2001, he obtained his mine manager's certificate of competency and managed various mines as mine manager. He spent more than 17 years in the coal mining industry, where he served as both SACEA and SACMA before joining the Alloys Mining Division as general manager. In 2008, he took over the role of head of mining. Yapi is a board member on the South African Minerals Council and has been elected as the chairman of the CEO Zero Harm Forum since 2022. Please help me welcome Yapi Fullard to the stage. Thank you.
Thanks for that, especially really making me feel old. I still feel young, though I must just say that. So I'm not going to give a complete speech, although I do have just a couple of things that I want to just raise or touch on. But I think, first of all, we have seen today the presentations and also some of the speeches that came forward. I mean, here are really some phenomenal women in South Africa. I think if you just think about all the CEOs being mentioned, I mean, these are people that came, from the roots, and they're not there just because of their pretty faces. I can tell you, it's because it's a tough industry, and we sometimes need to make tough decisions. And that is not always easy. So it's easy to, to want to be the CEO of a company, but I can tell you, being in that position comes with a huge amount of responsibility. We talked about South African women and how they feature everywhere. And today we are going to have a look at some safety heroes. Especially, and I mean, some of the frustrations also been shared today, is it's already difficult to be a female in a traditionally man's world. I mean, we all have realized that. Some of the companies, I can just say that as Glencore, we are actually far above the 16%. So the industry is currently sitting on 60%, 16%. But the reality is that on top of the fact that you are a woman and you have to fight for your position, then you need to put up your hand to be a safety achiever as well. And this is what this is today about. It's about the safety heroes that's doing and going beyond even fighting for the women. So it's almost like a double badge in my view. We talked about the 131 years where females started protesting, and I think, in my view, females must actually, protest more, so that we can accelerate that 196 years, to get to that equality. And but I do think it's our responsibilities, Mark, as CEOs, to make sure that women in mining and progressing women in our workplaces is our responsibility, and we must also advocate this to our fellow CEOs as the request came through, and we will definitely take that on. We must equip our women to be successful. It is our responsibilities as CEOs. But it is difficult. I want to just give one example, and I'm not going to say who it is, but the lady will know. She's in, the audience here. She was appointed as a very senior manager in my division a couple of years ago, and she was just appointed. And a month or 2 or 3 went past, and she came into my office, and she was still a young girl. She's still a young girl. And she came into my office and said to me, "Yapi, I've got a real problem." I said, "Yes." Not going to say the name. Anyway, said, "I've got a problem, I'm pregnant." She just started in her job. And obviously here she was, anxious of doing her job because that's what she's paid for, and now she's going to be off work for 9 months plus, or not 9 months, 4 months plus 3 or whatever. And how we react as leaders is critical. And she started to cry. I mean, she broke out in tears, and because she thought that at that stage, it's a real challenge in her life. And I said to her, "Why do you cry?" She said, "Because I'm going to be out of my job now for a time period. And you appointed me to do a job, and now I'm not going to do a job." I said to her, "You know what? You and me together must celebrate. We must celebrate life." And this is the difficulty that women has got. You've got challenges that we don't have as men. I mean, for me, when my 2 children was born, I didn't take one day off. I was back at work the next day. People will crucify me for that, but it's okay. Especially my woman, or my ex-wife. Perhaps that's why she's ex-wife. But anyway, we do appreciate the challenges that you've got, and we must embrace that. That was one story for me that stood out. Another story that stood out was this young lady, and I mean, she's like really small and tiny and beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful girl. And she came into my office and she said to me, I mean, she was still a mine captain, the same as, or a learner official. And she came into my office and I said to her, "How are you going to manage men? I mean, you are going to be the leader of I mean, she was like a minor at that stage, and she had to now control men that has had X years of experience. How are you going to control them?" And she said to me, "I'm going to ask them politely." I said, "Yes," and then they are going to say no or whatever, and then she said, "Then I'm not going to be so polite anymore." Just want to tell you that same lady has now been appointed as a mine manager, running the biggest mine in the whole of Glencore, right through the whole business. That same little lady. And it just shows you with that tenacity and with that drive and that power. I mean, and, after, the appointment, she actually, said to me, she said, "Yapi, can you remember some 10 years ago, you actually asked me this question?" I said, "No, I can't really remember." She said, "I just want to tell you, I just kept on asking politely, and if they do not do what I say, I will act accordingly." The same lady. So it is definitely possible. The third story I want to tell you, and this is really a heartbreaking story. A couple of years ago, people are traveling in Steelpoort Valley from their houses. They travel on buses and they come to work and they go back home. And there was one incident where the bus full of men instructed a lady to take off all her clothes and parade up and down the bus whilst driving home. This is this I would say happened about 6 years ago. In our society, this still happens. Coming back to your point. what is our responsibility towards that? What do we do to make sure that we don't have that? I mean, obviously, I cannot tell you how I felt when I first heard this and the actions that we've taken, but that's why we've got, and that comes back to the technology and all the things that we can do, CCTV cameras, and a lot of things so that we can put people like that. We must, if I was the president of this country, I would hang, people for that. I promise you. And we must take this serious. If we are not serious about this, and it's only going to stop here today because it's a snapshot, International Women's Day. It must be every day like this. Why do we need a day to stop and reflect? It must be within our DNA. Otherwise, it will never change. It will take another 196 years to make a difference. We don't have time for that. You are the mothers of our children. And we must start to respect you for that. That's our responsibility as men. I'm going to end off by saying, what does a safety hero mean? I'm not going to talk specifically about women because I know that in this instance they use the specific criteria. But a safety leader, and I'm talking about to all of us now today, is a person with knowledge and experience. Knowledge and experience. The person must have leadership skills. Very important. It's very easy to be a manager, but very difficult to be a proper leader. Attention to detail. If you want to be a safety hero, you must have attention to detail. And that's why, in my view, ladies are better leaders than men. That's why they say a diversified business will always do better because of that ability. Problem-solving abilities, that's point number 4. You must have the ability to look beyond only the black and white. You must understand the in-depthness of the problem. Communication skills. Oh, Mark, you and me are not good at that. Do that. No. It is, how do you convince people to do the right thing? And that is a skill. To be able to have a communication skill it's not something that you teach. It comes from the heart. And again, if you just look at, and that's why motherhood, I mean, the way that we were, brought up. If there's a challenge in the house, the children will always go to the mother because of that ability to have that, those skills. Commitment to continuous improvement. So that's the other point. So if you want to be a real safety hero, you must have the ability to make sure that every day you must look at the next day and at the next opportunity and the next opportunity, and how can we make it better and better and better. That's part of the KPIs of being a safety hero. And the last one, which I also believe that we as men sometimes don't have that ability, and where I believe that you have got the upper hand above us, and that's got to be, about empathy and compassion. Again, it's part of your being. And you don't have to say that you're sorry being a woman. I am not sorry because I'm a man. My doctor said there today, she said, you know what? I've got 2 children. I've got a boy and a girl. And my responsibility is to give them both equal opportunity. And ultimately, if we can get to that, of equal, opportunity, I mean, why must we have days like this? Why must we create a special day? Why must we have women in mining? It must be colleagues in mining, ultimately. But because of this huge disconnect, that's why we need to do this and to make this a priority for us. Otherwise, it's not going to change. It must be on the agenda every single day. So I'm going to stop. Otherwise, we can go on and on. So I just want to say that for me, maybe perhaps the last thing, Nolita, that I must say is last year, we have lost 55 colleagues in the mining industry. 55. And although people talk about, yes, we are definitely going down to zero harm, it's still 55 people that died. To make it a bit more closer to home, 2 of them were females. So that means that there are 2 families now without a mother or a wife. And that's the reality. That's bringing safety home. It starts with us. And yes, we are going to talk about now the safety heroes on the female side. And how did you be able, how did you get it right? I must say, looking at the pictures here, I don't see them here. It's a bit different. But yeah. Anyway, so I just want to say, for me, it's a real privilege to be part of an industry that can make a real difference. Thank you.
Wow. How impactful is that? And I'm just going to, for handing out of the certificates in celebration of our safety heroes, I'm just going to request Mrs. Nolita Fakute to come and join Mr. Yapi on stage for the handing out of the certificate. And I just want you, everyone, to just give them a round of applause in advance. In advance. Hi. So, let's go. We're getting into the celebrations now. And those who didn't take the day off work, you're going to have to go back to the office after this. I don't know how you're going to focus. So our first safety hero that we're celebrating is Juvina Naidu, a surface plant production manager at South 32, who has developed a groundbreaking system of work that has been improving mine safety. Juvina, please come join us in the stage. Mr. Cameraman, where's the camera? Oh, they're there. All right, thank you, Juvina. I hope I pronounced your names right. And all the details of our safety heroes and their accomplishments are in the website for the Minerals Council. So you can go there and read in detail. And again, it's about shared knowledge, so you can see how you can implement in your environment. Woo! Yes, yeah. Our next safety hero is Kile Litsipa, who is changing safety norms at Exxaro, motivated by the tragic loss of her father, Maipato Litsipa, in a mine incident in '97. Kile is the group manager for safety and health at Exxaro. We'll just clap for her in absentia. She couldn't join us today, unfortunately. Woo-hoo! And then our next safety hero is Zanele Madinane, who is a health safety environment and risk manager at South 32. Please welcome Zanele. Woo, woo! Lovely. Okay, our next safety hero after Zanele is Pelunomi Khai, who is a rock engineer. Pelunomi. Oh, let's clap for Zanele once again. Pelunomi Khai, rock engineer at ASMAG. Pelunomi leads ASMAG's Fall of the Ground Fog initiative aimed at minimizing injuries and fatalities. So let's give a round of applause for Pelunomi. Woo! Go girl. Well done, Pelunomi. Our next safety hero is Emma Matlasedi. an HR an HR coordinator at Anglo American Platinum, who has been advocating for the promotion of health and safety, security, and well-being for women at the mine. Let's give it up for Emma. Well done, Emma. Woo! Our next safety hero is Nandisi Banyoni. Yeah. Executive Head, Safety and Sustainable Development at Kumba Iron Ore. She is tasked with overseeing and developing systems that ensure that safety is integrated in all operations. Well done, Emma. Woo! Huh? Well done, well done, well done. Our next safety hero is Oma Mokhale, who is a safety officer at Kumba Iron Ore. So Oma runs a number of safety campaigns at Kumba Iron Ore, where she is responsible for enforcing compliance. Tizawena Oma! Allah. Wow. Well done, Oma. Well done. Our next hero is Charmaine Matlo, who is... Charmaine is a facilitator and a WIM chairperson at Northern Platinum, where she plays a crucial role in guiding the organization towards advancing gender diversity and inclusion in the mining industry. Well done, Charmaine. Noah, the applause, I'm loving them. Well done to yourselves. Our next safety hero is Mariska Bolton, who is a senior HRD business partner at Glencore. With a passion for teaching people and fostering career growth, Mariska plays a vital role as a senior HRD business partner at Glencore. She is driven by commitment to innovative training methodologies that contribute to safety and productivity in the mining industry. Is Mariska here? Woo! Well done. Shine. Well done, Mariska. Cool. Our next safety hero is Yogen Chetty, who is the manager HSER and project at South 32. Yogen Chetty is driven by the mining industry's zero harm goal, which aims to reduce the number of safety risks and incidents. Well done, Yogen, our safety hero. And that is it for our safety heroes. Can we please have all our safety heroes coming to the stage so that we can take a snap of them? Hala. Another round of applause. Let's ululate louder. Okay. I'll call for them. All right, with that, ladies, it's getting hot in here. Ladies and gents, so I'd like to just request that all the speakers also come to the stage to collect a vote of thanks or some thank you, Smolanyana gift for spending the day with us. We really appreciate your time, your contribution to the mining industry, and all the insights that you shared with us today. So please, can I call all the speakers to come through? And then Dr. Tutula Balfour will hand over the gifts. Can we please? So thank you so much. And as they collect their thank you gifts, I'll just remind everybody of who the speakers are and remind them as well, in case they're still sitting down. We have Dr. Futhi Mtoba, who's the co-chair of Women's Economy Assembly. Mr. Mark Monroe, Chief Technical Officer at Impala Platinum. Mrs. Zimkita Gova, Chief Executive Officer, Women in Mining, WIMBIZ, who led the panel discussion. Mr. Yapi Fullard, Chief Executive Officer at Glencore. Mr. Mark Monroe, I've called him before, okay, 2 gifts. Mr. Masito, Chief Executive Officer, Ditsoho Engineering Demo Foundation. Okay. And Ms. Nolita Fakute. So let's give them all a round of applause. I hope I called everyone. I hope I didn't miss anyone. All right, no, awesome. So with that lovely day, and thank you for celebrating with us, I'm going to call upon Mr. Tebelo Chabana to give closing remarks and a vote of thanks. Thank you so much. I think my job is done.
Sure, coming after such a high. No. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Tebelo Chabana. I'm responsible for public affairs and transformation at the Minerals Council. I just want to make some few concluding remarks, take some points from each speaker. I had a whole lot more, but I'll try to keep it rather to 1 or 2 per speaker, if that's okay, before I say thanks. Okay, so I want to note that, you know, the theme for this year's International Women's Day, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, is really so apt. Studies have shown that there's one common element in the success of whether it's socioeconomic development programs, enterprise development programs globally, and that is investing in women, investing in the empowerment of women. That is the critical success factor. So, Sis Nolita, thank you very much for telling us about our transformation journey as a mining industry. We are undertaking this journey from the first woman engineer in 1994 and the first black female engineer in 2005. We know we started a bit late on this journey, but we're determined to make that progress. And but I think one thing that's also quite important, though, is that as South Africa, yes, we started late, but if you compare us to our global peers, especially when it comes to representation of women in mining, we're actually doing quite well. So the journey continues. Dr. Mtoba, a point that you made quite a poignant point that women bear the brunt in economic downturns, and that we must have strategies to combat this. And this is very appropriate in these times where mining companies are really going through some structural changes. And yes, there are really some pending job losses. So it's one of those things that I think we need to really take to heart as mining companies, and we need to ask our mining companies, well, what are we actually doing here to ensure that women do not bear the brunt of this? We must heed that call. Thank you. And then Dr. Balfour gave some insights on some of the experiences of women entrepreneurs in the study that we did. Suffice it to say that what we're going to be doing is feeding all these inputs into the various technical committees that we have with our member companies. These things need to be known and shared and understood. Mark, you emphasized that the criteria for advancement at your operations is delivery. And Yapi also emphasized that, that it's all about capability. Yeah, this was also reiterated. And it's good to see that women are proceeding and succeeding on that basis in Impala. And then to the panel discussion, just some points here. The differentiator to successful or versus unsuccessful transformation, whether it's at the workplace, whether it's at home, whether it's in communities, is leadership. And that must always be remembered. Mines must also take whatever efforts to remove barriers preventing women entrepreneurs and businesses from succeeding. And we must also ensure that mines are a safe and conducive environment for women to work. And lastly, on the panel, Tebogo, thank you very much for emphasizing the importance of resilience and drive. You have to be forceful, but focused. Thank you very much for that. And Yapi, again, emphasizing at the end that it's critical how leaders, how you must react as leaders to various challenges and be sensitive, especially to those challenges that you're not maybe privy to from your workforce, because that makes all the difference. Thank you for that. And then in closing, I want to say thank you to all of you. A special thank you, Sis Nolita, who's chairing the Women in Mining Leadership Forum, without whose leadership, frankly, we wouldn't be driving this agenda as strong and as successful. So thank you to you, Sis Nolita. Dr. Balfour, our supporting act there, supporting Sis Nolita and our colleagues, Tumi and Jeanette and them for making this event possible. Thank you very much. To the industry leaders that are here and those the people outside of the industry, thank you very much for sharing your insights today. And thanks to all the guests, I know that many of you are instrumental in driving the empowerment of women and transformation in our industry, the very people around these tables. Thank you very much. And a special thank you, a very special thank you to our safety heroes. Thank you for making our workplaces safer. Thank you very much.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of the agenda items, but I really want to bring forward Tumi Nkomo, who is the lead in organizing all of this. I know she likes to stay in the background, but today, today is your time to shine, girl.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really do like staying in the background, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank our program director today. She did such a sterling job of directing us today. So Ms. Khalaletsang Lekhodi, who's a senior associate of strategy and business transformation at Exxaro. Thank you so much, Khali. I would also like to thank our senior executive at Minerals Council for giving the vote of thanks and also summarizing the inputs from today. Thank you so much, sir. He also likes to stay in the background at these things, so I just want to put a spotlight on him. Mr. Tebelo Chavana, please come up and receive your gift, sir. And lastly, but most certainly not least, one of our presenters today was Dr. Tutula Balfour, to whom I also report directly. I just want to say thank you so much, ma'am, for, first of all, your presentation and also your insights and inputs in the whole WIM program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your participation, everyone. I think we've reached the end of the day, so have some fun. If there's still some snacks remaining, finish them and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you.